Hello everyone, this is Antom64.
And I'm MBM.
And welcome to the HellfireComms playthrough of Final Fantasy. And before we get started, yes, there was originally a solo playthrough of this, but the commentator for that, which would be the one and only Mexi, right here, wasn't really feeling it. He's not one for solo commentary. It's my fault for kind of insisting that we have a bit more variety on the channel, and he take the helm there, but whatever, we're going to do things from scratch, fresh, start over if you will, and now it's a duo commentary, and that means, Mexi, you're doing all the talking, so have at it.
No, I'm dragging you along in this too. Plus, it's just like JRPGs to always have your friends nearby. Everyone knows that friendship is the greatest power when it comes to RPGs.
Where are you in, like, the party there? Is, like, Entom, Helldragon, Richie, Kato?
Well, see, here's the thing. There are several very small reasons, some important reasons for why I did this. Number one, Cardo is the fucking man.
Yep.
Let's settle that right now, and he deserves to be in a playthrough, so there you go.
Definitely.
That is my thanks, and to show my gratitude to that dude.
Okay.
Second, I'm God. Alright? I'm controlling the party. Why would I be in the party when I'm controlling all of you guys and all of your actions and making you my little minion puppets? Why would I be one of those? Think, Tom. Use your brain.
I was gonna say, that's just mean. I was gonna say, I have, like, superiority, like, issues from time to time, but I never just flat out state I'm a god, but I digress. Why is this thing called Final Fantasy?
Final Fantasy. Alright, so way back in the 80s, Squareco, I don't think they added the soft until the 90s or so, but way back when, Squareco was a small little company that made, I believe, one or two sports-related games. They didn't make a lot, but what little they did make didn't sell at all. They flopped. The company was going absolutely bankrupt. So what happened was, Hironobu Sakaguchi, he decided that the next game he was going to make was going to be an RPG, because Dragon Quest was doing so good, he was like, you know what, I could do that. I could probably do something that allows me to go out with a bang. And so he decided to make Final Fantasy. It would be his final game, and it would be of the fantasy genre. Little did he know that in doing so, he would end up creating one of the best-selling game franchises of all times.
Yeah, we're at, like, what, Final Fantasy 15 right now, which was originally Final Fantasy Versus 13 or something?
Exactly, and everyone makes the joke already that, oh, is this gonna be the final? No, it's not. So long as the money keeps rolling in, it's not. Frankly, we all need to be following his example. You know what? This is gonna be our final playthrough. You know what? We're done doing commentaries. Watch us. Now we're gonna get like 1 million subscribers. It's gonna be glorious.
Oh my god, I was actually gonna ask you to discuss the battle system, but you just demolished those imps.
Well, they're level 1 enemies, and even though we're level 1, I made sure to get us all some early equipment. The game is nice enough to start you off with some measly gil, but it's enough to equip your entire party. I do want to congratulate the character Tom for landing a critical hit on his first hit, and for 64 damage.
Nice.
It's like the playthrough has the blessings of the RNG goddesses.
Ah, it's Garland. Garland will knock you all down.
Memes. All of the memes. Although I can't blame you for regurgitating it when Square Enix does it themselves. I mean, come on. You watch the beginning of Dissidia, and what's the first thing Garland does when clouds run up to his fucking face? Just smacks him. Like, get down. Nah, we're done here.
There's no, like, special tricks you need against Garland. He's fairly standard fare for, like, the first boss and whatnot. And, I can discuss this with some authority, because I've played at least 4 hours of the game. No more than that, so from part 3 onwards, I'm going to be basically just kicking back, and, you know, I'm here for the ride.
Hey, at least you were able to accurately describe Garland. It's true, he's really a tutorial boss. I know most people want to at least be level 5 or something, which is outrageous, because as you saw, if you just keep everyone attacking, even if they're level 1, so long as they have equipment, they'll kill him. Like, even if you have a white mage, you should probably have that also attack every turn, just so you can, you know, have a consistent damage per round amount.
I notice in the party we have 2 warriors and 2 red mages. Is that the optimal build for, like, a beginner team? How do you usually play the game?
When I first played the game, I had my party planned up before I even started, and I kind of based it off Final Fantasy IX. I wanted 1 warrior to do damage, I wanted a black mage to do offensive magic, a white mage to heal, and I wanted a thief, because Zidane was probably one of my favorite protagonists. But no, you kind of want to leave diversity for later playthroughs. Final Fantasy is definitely a game where you can deal with having multiple characters of the same class, and fighters should definitely be your beginner friendly class. They do high damage, they have high defense, they can equip pretty much every gear available in the game. Like, other than the fact that there are some enemies later in the game that are near immune to physical attacks, if those didn't exist, I would almost recommend a party complete with fighters and then just stock up on potions. Now, the reason I have red mages is due to a bug in Final Fantasy's coding where you have different stats, and one of those stats is intelligence. Now, normally intelligence is supposed to be how much damage an offensive spell will do, or how much healing a recovery spell will do. So, the higher your intelligence, the better you can cast a spell.
Mm-hmm.
Now, black mages and white mages have higher intelligence than red mages. The only thing that red mages have as an advantage over those two is the fact that they can cast both types of spells. However, in the original version of Final Fantasy and in the re-released PlayStation version, the intelligence stat does nothing.
What?
It is a completely null stat. So what that means is that all characters, even fighters, or warriors, I like to call them fighters because that's their original name, all characters, all classes, can cast spells with the exact same efficiency. So because red mages can cast offensive spells just as well as black mages, and can cast recovery spells as good as white mages, and can cast both types, and can use a sword, like, there's no reason in the original NES and the PlayStation version not to use red mages.
Oh, Jesus, makes you take a breath, man. I think that's a new record for you. I actually really dig this opening here. It just kind of gives you the whole epic adventure feel, even for, for such a dated game. It's kind of mean to call it that, but compared to stuff we see nowadays, like even the Mario and Luigi games, it's kind of showing its age.
Yeah, it's kind of a shame that they have to essentially give you your story in text. Maybe if this had been released on, like, the SNES or in the 16-bit era, this would have probably been, like, a pre-title screen sequence. But, no, they had to interject the plot, right, sort of there in the middle, but it's accompanied by the main theme of this series, which is one of my all-time favorite video game soundtracks. Like, that's a song I want to play at significant events in my life. Graduation, wedding, fucking play it at my funeral, I don't give a fuck. That song is amazing.
Just, play it while we're beating the shit out of an ogre, it's all good.
Yeah. So what do you think of ogres, Tom?
Destroyed my entire team the first time I played.
It happens. The ogres are pretty high damage, high defense enemies, but I would recommend that once you have a good grasp of the combat to go after these guys. They're the only enemies in the early parts of the game that will drop more than 100 gil, which is important because Final Fantasy, and I will criticize this heavily, no matter what version you play, has a terrible money crunch right at the beginning, and it's even worse in earlier versions because the PlayStation version introduced easy mode, and then later versions are all essentially built off of that easy mode. But the big thing that easy mode does is that it near halves the price of everything. So I'll give you that, not having to grind as much money is a lot more fun, it's less tedious, but I still do prefer playing and enjoying OG Final Fantasy.
Alright, let's see what this boss, and yes, this is a boss, has to do with the plot.
Absolutely nothing. We're just gonna get that out of the way right now. We just need to kill some pirates so we can get a boat.
Oh, so many pirates. The brochure said there'd only be a few pirates. Oh, this is a terrible vacation.
The brochure may have said tons of pirates, but when you look on the overworld map, there's only one, yet all the villagers are terrified and saying they're overrun by pirates. It's like, there's just the one. I'm sure, two of you could escort them out and get it over with.
Stuff like this is kind of the reason I prefer to play action RPGs, and there'll probably be a lot of that from me throughout the course of this playthrough, so I do apologise. But they essentially get 9 turns, and oh god, the game's slow enough as is.
I don't see a problem with that either. I mean, that seems to be the current evolution in RPGs nowadays, is that our turn-based happened early on because these early games are very rooted in, Dungeons and Dragons, a lot of turn-based tabletop RPGs, but with video games, you need to be engaged more often. So we're starting to see a departure from this turn-based D&D style fights and more into the action, free-flowing, hit whenever you want, but you're gonna have to dodge and run around style of RPG. And I'm cool with that, just so long as we don't forget the turn-based. So long as I occasionally get a Bravely Default or a random indie RPG that draws inspiration, as long as those still stay alive, I have no problem with the current transition to more action-oriented RPGs.
My personal favorite type of turn-based RPG is one where I can actively take part in the battle besides just selecting from menus. So like the Mario and Luigi games, the Paper Mario games, where I have the option to try and dodge an enemy's attack instead of just taking it full on in the face,
Yeah, those are fine. And as I said, there's a lot of changes that are coming to turn-based. Like, even though I'm saying that I like the old turn-based, even those games that are drawing inspiration, they're still adding new tweaks. Bravely Default introduced the default system where defending essentially gave you more actions per turn and you could bank actions per turn instead of just, I want to cast one spell. Let me cast 4 spells at once, but I'm gonna have to wait a little bit longer before my next action. So the fact that we're not just stuck in the mud, this was the way we had to do it, and we're gonna keep doing it now. It's changing, it's evolving, but honestly, I don't have too much of a problem with turn-based. So long as the strategy remains intact and, it's fun. Obviously, that has to be the main criteria of any video game at this point. Can it be fun?
Yeah, I played the demo they put out for Bravely Default, and it honestly just went right over my head. I guess I had just been playing action RPGs for too long. But the magic system, just while we've still got time in this part, God help you if you went with a magic-heavy team, like a bunch of white mages, black mages, red mages, to begin with. Well, less so red mages, I guess, because they're more offensive and the hitty type. But like Mexi mentioned earlier, during the money crunch portion of the commentary, yeah, good luck getting spells that will do worth a shit.
Especially early on, and also because Final Fantasy, at least the original versions, are heavily based off Dungeons & Dragons, and that includes their magic system. Where Dungeons & Dragons had spells per day, with Final Fantasy, you buy the ability to cast a spell, but each spell comes with a level, and with that associated level, you can only cast so many spells, and the only way you can restock that spell count is sleeping at an inn. So, right now, Rich and Cardo can only cast 2 level 1 spells. Once I run out of that stock, they're done. I have to go back to an inn if I want to cast more level 1 spells. It wasn't until the Game Boy Advance version that they brought in the more modern concept of an MP bar, where each spell costs MP points, and you can refill your MP with ethers or elixirs.
Yeah, I was actually looking for ethers in the shop. I ended up buying a lot of, poison cure things, which you will need for the upcoming dungeon, by the way. Oh, will you ever need it?
Yeah, because this is an older game, and they didn't have as much memory spaces for language, a lot of stuff is awkwardly abbreviated. But you can get over that.
And I believe that will do it for part 1 of the Final Fantasy playthrough. Join us next time. Bye-bye.